Hi everyone, we're back with another episode of Fabulous Places to Stay around the globe. Today we're traveling to Oregon, where we're meeting a fabulous person. It's Mike from Grande Hot Springs Resort. So Mike is going to tell us all about this beautiful property he runs in La Grande, and going to learn more about what he does and this property that he runs. So welcome to this conversation with Trip 101, Mike. I'm glad that you could join us all the way from across the globe. Thank you for making the time for this conversation today.
Happy to join you. Thanks for having me.
So, Mike, tell us more about yourself. How did you come to run Grande Hot Springs?
Well, I have a long history with hot springs. I met my wife at a hot springs, and she had a love of hot springs as well. And together now we've been to about 450 hot springs. It's
Oh, wow.
what we do. We even write a couple hot springs guidebooks to guide people to hot springs throughout the U.S. In 2013, we found this property for sale with the hot springs water and campsites and RV sites, and thought we had an opportunity to turn it into a pretty cool hot springs resort that people would be able to enjoy in Eastern Oregon.
Oh, wow. So it's almost been 11 years now.
It's been 11 years now.
Yeah. And that's so cool that you met your wife at a hot spring.
Completely agree.
So was it something that you always had on your agenda? You would want to run a hotel resort or something of that sort together? Was that something you both planned? Or did Grande Hot Springs just appear?
I think it's something that her and I would have always liked to have done, but it's a pretty tall order to end up getting a resort. My background was in real estate and construction, and her background was also in construction and design. And we have the ability to take on real estate and manage it and expand it. And that's although a resort is slightly different operation than typical real estate, and that you're actively managing it for overnight guests. We knew we had the ability to do that. What was interesting here is it was already an operating business. It was already an operating RV park. It was just an RV park that was not taking advantage of the hot springs to the fullest extent. We saw an opportunity to focus more on the hot water, on the hot springs, as well as expand that by adding more accommodations that allowed people to enjoy the hot springs. After we purchased the property, we started adding a couple of yurts, which are round wall tents that have private hot spring soaking in the backyard that are incredibly popular. And because of that, we're working on adding more cabins with private hot springs in the future.
It's interesting that you mentioned that the resort was not capitalizing on the hot springs because in the US, it's still a bit of a unique concept. When one thinks of hot springs, it's usually Japan or Norway and those sort of countries that come to mind.
Absolutely. And New Zealand, everyone else in the world is really focused on hot springs and its attachment to health and wellness. Whereas in the United States, it's always just been seen as hot water, getting in a hot tub, and more of a recreational activity. It really is up and coming in the United States, a growth industry focusing on hot springs and how it can be part of a person's daily wellness program.
That's pretty cool that you're on that curve already and you're ahead of it.
I'd like to think so.
Since you've been running it for 11 years, I'm sure you've established quite a credibility with your guests.
We have seen a huge amount of growth since we took over 11 years ago, and continuing to see a huge growth. We also picked up a property about half mile from here that has the hot springs water. It's actually where the hot springs comes up, and with a 64,000 square foot lodge and lodge rooms, movie theater, food. We're on this trajectory of being able to offer people a lot more services in this location, moving towards that focus of health and wellness.
So let's get back to the RVs a little bit. Since you are an RV resort, what type of RVs are you able to accommodate at Grande Hot Springs?
Yeah, so we have one RV sites. All of them are 80-foot long pull-throughs, and all of them have full hookups. So we really tend to cater to large rigs. We can take Class A motorhomes or large fifth wheels with no problem. The property was designed like this, so it's not an obstacle course of trees and rocks to get around. It's easy in, easy out with full hookups and full Wi-Fi. So we're able to all the way from tent campers in our tent area to the latest and greatest giant Class A diesel pushers pulling their car behind them or their Denali or their truck.
Oh, that's great. So you said it's a full hookup. So they'll have like all sorts of amenities once they get here.
Correct. Yeah, every site has power, water, and sewer, as well as Wi-Fi throughout the park.
And apart from the RV sites, you mentioned that you have and tent sites.
Right. We just added one tiny home. It's a great overnight accommodation because it has a living room, fireplace, dining room, full kitchen, bathroom, and a bedroom with a queen bed. Maybe have an RV or want to tent camp.
Do you get a lot of people who are like non-RV travelers?
Yeah, surprisingly, we've gotten on people's radar for that. And with the yurts and with the tiny home, they have very high occupancy rate, and it's a great destination, but we're also only 4 miles off the interstate. We get a lot of people just looking for a place to stay on their way to somewhere else. If you're going to have to stop anywhere, why not stop somewhere with hot springs and have a soak along the way?
It must be a good place to stop, relax, and then carry on with your journey.
Exactly.
Tell us a little bit more about La Grande. What are the seasons like? Do you have a specific time of the year when it's really good for people to be outdoors and traveling in RVs, or does it stay pretty much the same throughout the year?
Yeah, so LeGrand has all 4 seasons. And so during our busy season is spring, summer, and fall. Winter is our off season. It does get very cold and the wind blows a lot in the wintertime. But because we are on Interstate 84, which is the main interstate that runs between Portland, Oregon, and Boise, Idaho, the interstate is open year round. Travelers are able to get through year round. La Grande is a small town with about 10,000 people, and it's about 8 miles from us. So people enjoy the ability to be out in a more rural country setting, but drive 8 miles, about 8 minutes, and get into La Grande and have access to restaurants, shopping, and anything they need. Our busy season tends to be spring through fall. There's lots of recreational activities to do in the area. We're all for just coming here and relaxing by some of our soaking pools or going out into the forest and doing other activities, hiking, biking. Grande's known for its mountain biking. It's in the area, hikes, mountain lakes. There's a lot to do in the area.
Oh, wow. So it's possible to have a quiet vacation while you're staying at the resort. And then when you're feeling a little bit more energetic and adventurous, you can set about and do some hiking trails or walk around.
Absolutely.
So you're saying the busy months are from spring to fall. So that would be around April onwards, October.
No, you're exactly right. We try to get our soaking pools up and running for the spring break holiday, which is at the end of March. By April, we're certainly fully up and running. And due to the weather, we do end up having to close the soaking pools by the end of October.
If one is planning to visit during busy months, what's your peak season? Then how much in advance would you recommend them to reach out to you?
Because of the scale of our property, if you're staying in an RV, we have a lot of capacity. Weekends tend to book up fast during the summertime, during our peak season. So it's good to book a month or so out for weekends. But midweek, people are usually able to get in no problem. For our yurts that have the private soaking, they are booked out for months in advance. Weekends right now are probably about 4 months out for the yurts. There's still some cancellations that can get picked up on short notice. But for the yurts, you definitely want to book out months in advance to get the time frame you're looking at. Very popular and almost 100% booked.
So it's non-RV travelers who have to be proactive about booking their trip in advance.
We only have 2 yurts at this point. We are looking at adding more cabins to help with that. The yurts have their own private soaking in the backyard. So they have their own private soaking areas. So they're very popular because of that. And it also allows people to use that space year round. So the soaking pools at the yurts are open year round. The yurts are open year round, and people enjoy them irregardless of the weather.
Yeah. So since you are somewhat of a hot springs expert, what's your take of the hot springs that you have on your property? Do you find them on your scale of hot springs across the world? How do you rate them?
It's a great question. And the water here is absolutely some of the best we've found in the entire world. And I'm not just saying that because we own the place. The water that comes out of Hot Lake, which is the name of the hot springs, is very hot, 186 degrees Fahrenheit, and about 2 million gallons a day comes out of the ground. So it's a very hot, very large hot springs. And I think that somehow affects the water. Historically, this hot springs has been known for its minerals and for all of its positive quality. As something that's already well known. And I would agree, it's a very nice hot spring.
If someone who's visiting your property, what does their day look like if they plan to have a soak? And I saw a gentleman just take a dip in the pool. Could you describe it a little bit for me? What would their day at Grande Hot Springs look like?
Our guests tend to enjoy the pools as much as they can fit into their schedule. A nice morning soak, which is what's happening right now, and people soak all through the afternoon. We close the pools right at dusk. At night, we have a twilight soak that is adults only. From 9 to 11, only our overnight guests can soak from 9 to 11, and adults only quiet soak. And it's a great way to start the morning. And it's a great way to end the evening.
Yeah, the twilight soak must be quite something. I'm sure you can see like the stars up above you, and then you're in warm water. It must be pretty great.
Yeah, we're in an area with very dark skies. We're out of town a few miles. The sky and the stars are great. We have low levels of lighting, the minimum to be legally compliant. People love it. And other activities on the property, and we've got a few games like horseshoes and community fire pits when the fire danger's low, a little bit of a loop of a hiking trail. Yeah, there's a number of amenities here that people can enjoy besides soaking, but I think it's the unique thing and the focus of why people come.
It sounds great. The special thing you have is other springs, given by nature, so why not exploit it completely? Let's discuss the food options you have now. So, do you have amenities for dining as well on Grande Hot Springs?
Well, here we just have a little camp store that has just provisions for people to get by during their stay, ice cream, soda, snacks, and camping provisions. Next door at our neighboring property, about a half mile away, we have Hot Lake Springs Resort, and there we have the thermal pub with full meal options. And a lot of our guests from here will make the short trek over to our neighboring property and have lunch or dinner there.
Oh, that's pretty great. Yeah, that your neighbors have an option that your guests can explore. Earlier, you were also saying that you're about 8 miles away from the town where there are lots of
Mhm.
restaurants and pubs.
Yeah, of course, we're only 8 miles from La Grande and the full restaurant selection there as well. Even though we are out in the country, we do have delivery services like DoorDash that are willing to take food out to our overnight guests. A lot of RVers either don't want to disconnect their tow rig or the vehicle that they're towing if they're on a short trip. Having those options available are really good.
You have the convenience of being within nature and away from the town, but also you can avail the services if you need to from the nearby town. That's getting the best of both worlds in a way.
I completely agree.
Tell us a little bit more about the town. What's the vibe of the town? It's 8 miles away, so I'm sure people must be venturing. If they're not at the property, then they must be venturing into the town a lot. What is it like?
La Grande is a cute historic town, a cute downtown area with brick buildings. There's a number of restaurants and stores to explore. as well as larger stores like Walmart, which is something that is important to travelers to be able to get stock up on supplies when they're traveling. Eastern Oregon is a big area that doesn't have necessarily a lot of with large stores. And so that's something for that's special in LeGrand. LeGrand also features one of only two drive-in movie theaters in the state of Oregon. That's something that popular 50, 60, 70 years ago, driving your car in and watching a movie on the big screen. And yeah, there's only two left in the state. LeGrand is known as a central location to use as a hub or gateway to other areas. You have to go through LeGrand to get up to Wallowa Lake and the city of Joseph area in Northeast Oregon, as well as over to Baker City or over to Pendleton. Grand is a real central location to explore those areas. And each one of those areas has different activities to do and different sights to see and even different breweries. LeGrand has a great brewery, Side A Brewing, and then all of our neighboring communities have their own breweries like Terminal Gravity and Enterprise, Prodigal Son in Pendleton, and Barley Brown's Brewery in Baker City. These are all well-known breweries that people love, and it's great to check out right on site where they're brewing your favorite beer. It's also very popular for people to do.
It sounds a town that's small, but it's also quite critical in the way that since it's on the interstate and a lot of people are traveling, it's connected to all the nearby sites. So you're in quite a critical spot that way, especially for RV travelers.
I agree.
A little while ago, you were telling us about the nature trails in the area. So, what are the things that your guests usually tend to explore nearby?
Yeah, there are hiking trails and biking trails in the Mount Emily Recreation Area. That's something that is very popular. It's also called Mira, MERA, the Mount Emily Recreation Area. We get people coming over for Anthony Lakes, a popular ski resort in the wintertime, and they also offer mountain biking and other summer activities there. And then nearby is Morgan Lake. That is also popular. We have a number of reservoirs that are popular, and a lot of people stay with us on their way up to Wallowa Lake, one of the jewels of Oregon. It's a highlight.
So many attractions nearby. I'm sure it's like quite a sight to be seen. You must have the great viewpoints around you.
Yeah, where we live is where Grande Hot Springs RV Resort is in the Grand Ronde Valley. It's like a bowl surrounded by mountains. You can go up to any of the mountains nearby, and there are trails, hiking, and viewpoints and waterfalls in the valley where we're at. It used to be a lake that was drained over 100 years ago. So it's a very lush and green valley. It's a very nice place to come and visit.
Yeah, it sounds like I can imagine it in my head. The way you're describing it, it sounds really great and quite a spot to be in, definitely. It's totally my kind of place. I love nature trails and hiking around.
Perfect.
Yeah. What would, if a guest is planning their trip to Grande Hot Springs, what would be like your advice to them, or would you like to give any tips to them when they're planning their travel?
I think that it's just good to be mindful of typical things when you're traveling out to the country. We are going to have bugs and mosquitoes, and we're out in the country, so be prepared to be in the country. And just be mindful of your surroundings when you're coming here in the winter time. You may have to deal with snow and ice and time with fire closures and smoke. It's just the typical things, but I think we're set up to make things easy for people. It's easy to book a site. You can call, you can email, you can book online. We're easy to get to right off the interstate. All of our sites are large and accommodating, and we aren't in the city, so we don't have any of the distractions of a normal city, of the busyness, the traffic, the pedestrians. We're out in the country and we're by ourselves. The Hot Lake Springs Resort has more amenities that are available for our guests at Grand Hot Springs RV Resort to visit and use. It's a great place to come.
I think you made a great pitch for your RV resort. I'm definitely convinced that it's a great place to be, even though I don't travel with RVs. But since you also cater to non-RV travelers, it might just be the spot for me if I travel to that part of the world.
Be sure to let me know. I'll hook you up.
Yeah. So I think I've covered all my questions that I had for you today, Mike. Is there anything else that you would like to say to your prospective guests?
No, I think that end up with a lot of very happy travelers and are told consistently that this is one of the best RV resorts they've visited in the US, which I find surprising, but it's good to hear. And as we continue to expand here, we're going to have more amenities at Hot Lake Springs Resort next door. There'll be more for everybody to enjoy.
That's pretty great. All the best to you with both your properties. I hope that our
Thank you.
viewers will find this session useful and the information that you have shared would be valuable for them to plan their trips when they are visiting La Grande, especially if they want to visit Grande Hot Springs. So I hope they will clue into this session and make use of all the information that you have shared. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, bye bye, Mike. We'll wrap this up now.